Hi everyone, it's Victor speaking, and thank you for joining me today. We will be speaking about Mars entering the sign of Scorpio, which on one hand is a blessing, and on the other hand, maybe it's a little bit of a curse as well. But we will see how it plays out. Now, one of the reasons why I wanted to make a video about this, because it will be highlighting actually the Saturn-Sun square also. So in this video, we will be talking about the Saturn-Sun square coming up on the 30th of October and the Mars entering the sign of Scorpio. Now, I hope you will enjoy this video, and if you do so, please press like and also subscribe to the channel, and welcome everyone. And by the way, I just made a webinar about solar eclipses, prenatal solar eclipses, and finding the most important eclipse in your chart, because we are in an eclipse season very shortly. So I will be launching my I will be posting my video about this lunar eclipse coming up on the 19th of November in the upcoming week. So stay tuned. Now, this webinar is free of charge for those who are my members on level 3 or level 4. And the next webinar you guys will be receiving is about the Dispository Tree. So if you haven't signed up yet to my membership, then check out on my website, which you can see on the screen, AstroViktor.com. Now, great. So let's get started. So Mars entering the sign of Scorpio, probably this is the major astrological news of the month. It leaves eventually its detrimental sign, and then it's going into rulership, a domicile position, because Mars rules 2 signs, and one of them is Aries and the other one is Scorpio. Now, Mars is the planet of drive, the focus, and energy. So speaking about Mars cycles, approximately it takes about 2 years for it to travel throughout the zodiac in honor of the Sun. And he is the very first one who actually goes very far away from the Sun. So Mars tends to be, for instance, in retrograde period once he reaches that kind of opposition phase with the Sun. Now, I've also looked at when we had some of the last entry of the Sun. So if you are unsure about actually how to do that, then I'm going to show you on Solar Fire. Maybe that's actually useful for others also. So what you want to be doing is you want to be going on that little icon there, and then click on that. And then you can go on the sign, and then you need to choose what you would like to see. So Mars in the sign of Scorpio, and then you need to give a time frame as well. So I gave from 2015 January till 2022 January 1st. And then you just press search, and then it will be listing for you all the dates when Mars entered the sign of Scorpio. So we can see, for instance, that this time around it will be entering on the 30th of October 2021, 10:21 EDT time. Okay, so it's going to be placing it in New York, but if you want to change that, of course, you have to play with the time zones. And then it will be leaving on the 30th of December 2021. And then if you want to be looking at that chart, just click on the chart, and then you will receive that. Okay, and then you can set it for any type of house position you want to. So you will see that Mars is bang on 0 degree this time around. And you can see that on that very same day, actually the Sun will be perfecting its square with Saturn as well, slightly bit earlier than Mars entering the sign of Scorpio actually. So in astrology, this is what we call as the collection of light, or transfer of light. So the Sun is actually transferring the light between Saturn and Mars. So therefore, it's like the Sun activating the Saturn-Mars square, probably, which I will be making about a separate video anyway, because at the end of the day, it's going to be one of the most important cycle, the first week of November. So Mars takes approximately about 2 years for it to travel around the zodiacal signs. So kind of like it's describing for us a little bit of a mini tour in certain signs. It tends to be spending about 6 weeks in each of the sign. And from a collective point of view, it really much talks about kind of like like a collective focus on a specific theme or an area of interest. So firstly, you might want to be looking at, okay, where the Scorpio cusp is in my chart, right? And maybe that's the area of life where your focus should be going at. Remember, Mars gets out of bed every single day to become Capricorn, so to accomplish something. So now focusing on that Scorpio cusp in your chart is about future, kind of like a future investment, so that you can accomplish something in that area of life. Now, Mars talks about passion and drive and sex and war and knives and guns. But on a higher manifestation, Mars' aim is to empower us to take matters of life into our own hands. And he was a little bit sizzling in the sign of Libra. Obviously, it wasn't his favorite position. But it definitely brought the attention to partnership and relationship situations in our lives. Probably it might have wanted us to kind of unite closer with someone, or to face some type of relationship challenges. And think about it this way. For instance, even if you have got Libra, for instance, in the 9th house, then maybe it's relationship to foreign countries, right? Or even if you have got that in the 3rd house, then the relationship to short distance travels and to siblings and so forth. Okay, so but somehow the key word was a relationship. Now Mars is finishing up this little bit of a tango or journey in the sign of Libra, and it will be making his journey into the sign of Scorpio, which is all about depth. So it wants you to analyze something. This Mars is a lot more strategic, a lot more driven actually than, for instance, in the sign of Aries, because in sign of Aries, Mars loses its temper a lot quicker, or it gives up on things, but in Scorpio, it goes to the very end. So on a collective level with this sign change, we definitely can have or experience kind of a hunger to pursue something to do with our deepest emotional desires. Scorpio has got this all or nothing type of attitude. So Mars here wants to get to the core of any type of issues. It wants to be exploring everything as deep as possible, and Mars can become extremely passionate here, which can kind of like nothing can stop you to have that experience. So probably on a collective level, we're gonna be diving into matters on a lot deeper level. Probably some secrets might get, might come out of to the surface. We might start talking about taboos and occults and sexual matters a lot more. And this is a 6-week period. So Mars is the very kind of like the planet which actually joins the personal planets with the social planets. So somehow, yes, in astrology, we look at Mars as a personal planet, but actually it's somewhere in between. So, so Mars in Scorpio is someone who is, whose energy level goes up extremely a lot, but also it governs over your anger as well. So that's the negative side. We can become very angry. And with Mars in Scorpio, we want to be facing our fears, and we want to be doing something about our anger. Scorpio typically is about crisis situations. So if there is any crisis situation going on in your life, then it talks about, you know what, I am going to be gathering my courage, and I'm going to be conquering those. Scorpio is actually a water sign, but it's fixed. So it's like a ice cold water or an ice cube, really. And Mars, which is kind of like a sword, so it does remind me a little bit of an Excalibur type of situation, and who can actually pull that sword out? So who can trigger that emotional insecurity within you? But Mars always encourages us to forge bravely ahead with our objectives. So it's about figuring out what your deeper motivation is, because Scorpio very much connects to the psyche and something to do with your subconscious energies as well. Scorpio's another trait is something to do with obsession. So for instance, if someone is having any type of obsessions, like for instance alcohol or drug problems, then this Mars actually can be positive and can say to you that, you know what, I'm ready to actually conquer that. So you know, with every single constellation, there are positive and negative energies also. So you know, it really depends on you how you want to be going about this Mars. Use this to focus on what really matters. Scorpio Mars never gives up. It never gives in. So it's like a you know, these survival camps, right? A Mars in Scorpio has got a huge chance to win actually here. Mars is the planet of fight and an action-taking planet. So Mars might want to take some fight on to create a change in life. Scorpio is also about your shared resources and shared values. So actually Mars here is still fighting for a cause which of course he has got some gains from, but also he does something for others as well. Now, if that's something you want to do with intimate relationship and let's say you want to be bonding a lot more with your partner, and that's very Scorpionic again, then this could be a period of time when you actually gain confidence. So you say that, you know what, I'm ready to pursue a more intimate relationship, and I'm ready to fight for it. I'm ready to actually tackle any type of issues what we've got. But Mars is also about your sexual desire. We can get a little bit more angry in the bedroom or a lot more creative as well. Or you can become sexually a lot more confident. So, or you can become very frustrated about the fact that you don't get what you want. And that's why we've got the most important part with Mars in Scorpio is to kind of face our inner demons and taking control of ourselves. So Mars in Scorpio is very sharp, very strategic. It focuses only on the important things. It's kind of like a little bit of a police work, really. So it goes and then tries to find the evidence. It tries to catch out the criminals and the shoplifters and all those type of things. So how you should be spending this time, this time, is to set any type of new challenges or goals for yourself, because Mars is ready to progress. It's ready to take on new challenges. It has got a very competitive nature this time around. And if you channel that Mars energy in a very right way, then actually your Scorpionic house could be something which can improve significantly. Now, because Scorpio Mars is in domicile, so on one hand, it definitely supports your Scorpionic house, even though this is a malefic planet, and it will be having some very challenging aspects in November. For instance, a square to Saturn, and then a square to Uranus also. Mars in Scorpio is all about being fully engaged with the Scorpionic house in your chart and being very determined about it and making sure that nothing can actually distract you. So These are the qualities of Mars in Scorpio. You know, I feel like anger and frustration people might feel can go to the extremes. So I feel like if someone has got some issues, then this Mars can actually indicate some type of boiling point. Remember that Mars this time around has got all the tools and access of what he needs to be able to fight. And one of them is strength. And then, of course, all those type of weapons and knives and sharp objects, what Mars rules over. So that's actually important. To turn your anger or frustration into something which you want to be achieving, and that might be around the house position. If it's second house, then you know what, I'm going to be turning my anger and frustration to actually make more money. So Mars represents in your chart why we get out of bed every single day. So maybe Mars in Gemini is motivated by searching for information and communication. Mars in Scorpio is motivated to make, maybe to find, to create a world, or to make the world as a better place than I found it eventually. Or maybe Mars in Libra is motivated to actually find a partner, right? So turn that anger into something positive. In the business world, for instance, Mars is very much about buying barometer. But I would never buy anything, for instance, if Saturn and Mars were squaring or in any type of hard aspect. From a business point of view, Mars is athletic, it's a risk-taking energy. So it tells you that have a look at why you are taking certain type of risks in your life. Go to the root cause of that. But it's brilliant, actually. You might feel a lot more committed to any type of gym routines. Mars can rule over your scars and wounds, but it's also the planet of hunting. So from a medical perspective, just watch out for the scars, because actually, like any type of wound, if you had a fresh operation, because it could actually indicate that the wound opens up, for instance. Now, typically Mars is kind of like this heroic type of energy. And as I mentioned at the beginning, it was the first planet who left the sun behind. So he kind of felt forced to leave the family nest behind and then try his own luck. So sometimes Mars can be forced into things which actually he doesn't want, and this time around it has got the edge, or it has got the determination to stand up for himself. Mars is always looked at as a pioneering figure, or someone who actually doesn't use so much strategy, because at the end of the day, it's a warrior. But in the sign of Scorpio, it becomes the strategist, right? So be strategic about the house position wherever Mars is at your chart. Show some type of bravery, knowing that a soldier can get not always winning the battle, but it doesn't mean that it gets defeated. So if you have got any type of challenging situation, then it talks about standing up and then trying again. Mars can show actually areas of life in your chart where you might be struggling, but it also says stand up and you need to become brave. So Mars rules over competitive fields like physical labor skills, or anything to do with something which requires training and expertise. So in the sign of Scorpio, medical fields might be actually struggling in the upcoming 6 weeks, actually. Typically, Mars is more like about the manual labor. So maybe because we won't be having enough doctors and so forth. But Mars also rules over sports and construction type of things, or combat. So these topics can actually be highlighted, maybe with Scorpio, you know, ice skating could be something which actually can be a remedy for Mars here. Now, Mars is a young type of person, right? So it's kind of like the know-it-all type of young energy. So in Scorpio, you know, it can stand up against bosses as well for no reason. Mars tends to believe that I should be starting my career on top of the hierarchy ladder, and it wants to become a leader immediately. So in Scorpio, it does need to understand that, you know, it is a slow process, because at the end of the day, it's a fixed sign. So Mars in Scorpio does need to learn patience. And I believe that's one of the reasons why the Sun-Saturn square is also around Mars this time, because of course, Saturn is the planet of patience. And of course, as a young person, Mars never wants to be classified into any type of category. So on one hand, it doesn't necessarily want to fit the mold, and that may be something in common with Uranus as well. Mars in Scorpio can be about gender issues, so sex and fight. So this might be a lot stronger topic in the upcoming month, actually, because Mars in Scorpio wants to have a strong sexual identity. It wants to actually call kind of the shot. Mars is like an activist, so we can actually become an activist about financial matters, right? Or the shared resources, shared values all together. So that's what, and sometimes Mars in Scorpio can come across a little bit, well, let's put it this way, arrogant. Okay, so that's also possible. Now, of course, Scorpio talks about becoming someone else, so leaving the past behind, and it talks about an inner death, but also it talks about physical death also. So whether Mars is going to be kind of increasing the number of deaths in the world, or just that more people are going to be fighting for their life, that's actually very possible also. But, you know, it could also talk about that I just want to create that change in my life. You know, Scorpio can indicate anything to do with mortgages or debts, so money matters, but this is also the sign which is still death do us apart type of thing. So there is still somehow the marriage topic coming in with this Mars in Scorpio. So this could be about, you know, an end of a relationship on a personal level, but also it could talk about, in a sense, marriage as well. And no matter what, in one way or another, we're gonna get married. So definitely that's also in the horizon for you. Okay, so Mars is all about taking what we desire. It's kind of showing us what type of energy we've got. So in Scorpio, which is a fix, it's definitely that's where the determination comes from. But Mars tends to make its decision based on emotions. And of course, that's something which Mars sometimes a little bit reluctant about. So Mars is your driving spirit, your driving force. It shows how we compete. So in the sign of Scorpio, it competes till we die. It can become blunt, and this just becomes a kind of a very strong go-getter. So it wants to penetrate, right? So therefore, Mars in Scorpio, from a positive point of view, it can become very sensual and sexual as well, because it wants to be expressing that passion. Mars is typically about our instinctual desire. So the survival instincts definitely grow significantly here. Great. So that's my interpretation on Mars entering the sign of Scorpio. And as I said, one of the reasons why it's kind of important for us is because this is the day when the Sun perfect is square to Saturn as well. So this is very much talking about, you know what, the playtime is over. So Saturn as the planet of responsibility, Sun can actually indicate your vocation as well as basically your life mission in this incarnation. So, and then it's all about, you know, addressing a problem. So it definitely tells you that you can be overburdened this time around, or how much I commit to, or how much responsibility I have to carry. And of course, the dispositor of the sun is Mars. So being in the sign of Scorpio, you know what, I've had enough. So but Saturn says be mature. Saturn says that, you know what, you're going to have to step into that adulthood now, and stop saying that I can't do this. I just have to do it because that's my social duty. For instance, I'm a parent, right? Saturn as one of the parenting planets. But you might feel, no, I've had enough, I can't do that. And this is where Mars can actually positively kick in and says, yes, I'll give you even more strength. Sun and Saturn square can really help us to tap into our fear as well. But it can also emphasize our doubts and make us feel like, you know, I cannot accomplish anything in this life. And therefore, this Mars in Scorpio sometimes can become, unfortunately, depressive as well. So it's like Mars is trying to get out of bed, but I feel depressed because yesterday was a disaster, and today probably is going to be a disaster also. So it kind of talks to you about learning a little bit patience, as well as learning to be a little bit more positive. But you know what? The promise of a square is that it's gonna nag you. It's gonna kick your butt till you kind of wake up. So therefore, it eventually is gonna get better. You just need to remember that. It's just about getting out of the darkness which you've created for yourself. Scorpio energy is like an alchemist. So meaning that get a couple of ingredients and then do some magic, and then invite the good things into your life. Okay, so that's important. On this day, actually, we also have got a Neptune and Vesta trine also. And it's all about basically not to get confused about your sacred duties. So again, it brings in somehow a little bit of a working energy into our picture, and focusing on your sacred duties in a creative way, and focusing on some type of spiritual experiences as well. That can be very helpful for this Mars Scorpio energy. You know, with Saturn and Sun square, we tend to say what is on our heart. It's not fluffy type of, situation, no bluffs at all. It's just black and white, especially in the sign of Scorpio. This could actually bring some type of conflict with elderly people, or with your bosses, even with your father. And this constellation together is all about stubborn pride. And then, you know what? I know I was in the wrong, but I'm not going to apologize because I'm stubborn. But another note is that Saturn Sun square, with the dispositor being Mars in the sign of Scorpio, we might tend to become a little bit whiny or complaining quite a lot. You might have got difficulties to relax, or you easily get frustrated. And with Saturn Mars square, it's like I have no energy. So that's the aspect of lack of vitality as well. Maybe you just need to be having a serious conversation with a fatherly figure. From a medical point of view, just watch out for rheuma, or it could talk about developmental inhibitions to a project which you want to be initiating. That's why you need to be learning a little bit patience. But it could talk about inhibitions in mental and not just physical, but mental development as well. So you can really feel under the weather, and your immune system can drop significantly. We've got the inclination to be a lot more pessimistic. or life just feels very karmic and, you know, I just want something easier. So our deepest desire is to create a better life for yourself. Maybe with Saturn, you can get help from elderly people. So you might want to be aware of that also. Now, Saturn square Sun and Mars in Scorpio is typically a very pessimistic, very depressed type of energy. Be aware of that. What gets you out of your depression? Because it is all about, you know, it can lead to eating disorder. It could lead to, you know, maybe actually the suicidal rate on this day is just going to get a lot stronger because you feel restricted, or you feel weighed down by certain duties and responsibilities. But look at it as a test. So life is testing you, or testing your endurance. And then it's testing your Mars, whether you can get out of bed and then conquer something bigger, which is on the way to you. So look at it, what makes your mood a lot better. So I know this is a little bit of a gloomy aspect overall, but look at Mars in Scorpio. Be very focused, be very determined, and know that you can do it. That's the most important part of this message. If you would like to hear more about the weekly forecast, then I recommend choosing the cheapest version of my subscription, because I break down each of the bigger astrological aspects of the week for you. And that's on AstroViktor.com. Thank you, everyone, and see you very shortly. Bye-bye.